Okay, you should, by this week, you already should get your team or your group for the project already, right? Enroll yourself into the Canvas, maximum 3 people, minimum 2 people, all right? Expect your presentation will be in week 10. Already briefed you last week on the whole project, what is expected. Expectation of the report also briefed to you guys already, huh? Okay, now let's continue with chapter 1. We will conclude chapter 1 by today. So basically, lots of theory. Again, when you look at this module, you need to think yourself as a project manager. You have to think yourself as a project manager, and think also from the perspective of top management and customers. So previously, we stopped at these slides. We have 3 types of gap in the company or in the management. So the first type is management gap, which is you have a loss of department level that do not communicate with each other, like one you see on the far left. In the middle, this one is functional gap, where department only talk to their own department, or project they only communicate with their own projects. For example, car manufacturing, car assembly plant. For example, Proton have a lot of model, right? So many model 1 team, they only focus on team model 1. They do not communicate with model number 2, number 3, number 4, right? So this become the functional gap, for example. Then if become serious, management gap plus the functional gap, it become island, operational island, which is the disaster for companies. Right? Okay. So the first type, management gap, is more on the class of prestige gap. Right? You need to get approval to proceed to one level to another level. Second one is working units of the organization, means department. Department. The third one is it becomes small operation island. This one, the fear, why they do not communicate, because they fear of giving up information that may strengthen their opponents. This one, example, will be in MLM company. For example, insurance company. The sales group will not share, cannot say will not lah, but they tend not to share their secret to another colleagues. How they sell the products. They sometimes they will hold the information for a while until they reach a certain position. Let's say they become a manager or group manager, then only they will share the information. So this will be quite serious problem for a company if you have operation islands. Okay. Also will be a disaster if this one happen in your projects. Means you don't know what your team member doing, and then last minute you only go and gather the report. Then this one will be the disaster lah. Okay. So Operation Island, thing that I can relate to this movie lah. This Marvel movie. So each one of that has their own things. So project manager responsibility is to get this island to communicate effectively. So you yourself try to avoid this kind of situation and become the Captain America lah. He's the one who go and link every superhero together to achieve a certain goals. Okay, so 3 types of important gaps: management gap, functional gap, and operation gap. So again, when you learn this one, you have to think as a project manager, and when you elaborate the points, please give example. If you just throw theory, you won't get full marks on. You need to give example. Okay. Okay, this one you read lah. This one you read on the textbook definition of a project management. So again, when we mark your paper, usually we look for the keyword. What is project management? is planning, organizing, directing. It's the adjective is here. Planning, organizing, directing. What is involved? Resources. The output is to achieve specific goal and objective. So the rest you read lah. So project management, usually you need to answer who, do what, or what is your input, process, and output. Okay, who, do what, and then what is your what is coming what is your focus, what is your target. But basically it's input, process, and output. Okay. So again, you have 5 principles when you talk about classic management. Classic management. So don't confuse this one with the previous process, project process. In the first class, we involved with 5 process, which is initialization. Then what? 5 process, you still remember? If you note the 5 process in the first class. Initialization, what? Planning, then planning, execution, then you execute, then control and monitoring. Then the last one, closer. Don't confuse this 5 with this slide. These 5 principles, you do planning, organization, staffing, control, directing. Don't confuse with the first lesson process. This is 5 principles or 5 functions in the management. You do planning, you organize, you do staffing, you control, and you do direction. Okay, so this one is the previous definition of project management. Okay, so if you look carefully, this is the classic one. The top is a classic. The one that you see in the previous slides, the staffing function is not inside here. So this is a latest definition for project management. Okay. So why the latest or modern definition for project management? They take out the traditional or classic management staffing, because staffing fall under line responsibilities. Again, in project management, line means department, means functional group or functional unit. Okay, it's fall under functional unit or line responsibilities. Okay. Then if you look for the word short term, what I mean by short term? For engineering, it can be 6 to 2 years. For engineering projects, it can be 6 months up to 2 years. It can become short. For construction, it can be 3 to 5 years considered short. It depends on project and discipline. Okay, so in project management, if you talk about long term, most of your staff will be full-time staff, and you manage through functional unit or line management. Later, we will look into organization chart for different type of organization. Okay, this type usually we use functional or line organization for long-term projects. Okay. Okay, so this is project management. When we do elaboration on what is project management, you draw this diagram. Okay, you support your argument or statement with this diagram. You draw a triangular. Inside there is resources. So you have 3 parameters to judge whether you have a successful project or not: time, cost, and performance, technologies, or specification. Okay, so this is important for if you if you the question asks you to draw a pictorial presentation of traditional project management, so this is the expected answer. Very direct answer. Whether you know how to draw or don't know how to draw. Usually 5 points for this one. Usually, so whether you know how to draw or you don't know how to draw. 5 out of 25, not out of 100. 5 out of 25. Okay. Then it will circle within good customer relationship. This is a very traditional overview of project management. Okay, so the rest is just elaboration. Okay, this one you read lah. So important is that when you manage a project as a project manager, you look at time, cost, and performance or technologies. Right? So you manage your resources. Again, resources here, don't think you only limited to equipment. Resources here can be money, can be people, can be talent, can be services, can be a lot of things. It can be know-how, it can be so forth and so forth. So don't limit it to equipment or physical item. So this is just highlight. The only constraint for your projects, you consider time, cost, and performance. So if the project is accomplished for an outside customers, then the project have fourth constraint, which is a good customer relationship. So if you put in the circle outside there, this one, your project, you need to involve outside customers. Then you need to include the good customer relationship outside the triangular. Okay, so this is your internal process, your internal how you control the projects. So you add this one is for good customer relationship. So when you manage projects, customers is always have the final say. So if you have a good relationship, normally you can able to solve or any conflicts very easily. Okay. Good customer relationship is important in industry. Why? When you for this module we have class rules. You come in 15 minutes after we start, you consider late. After 30 minutes, you consider absent. But you can still sit in the class and listen. In TCMS, you appeared to be absent. Okay. Now, as I write on the whiteboard here, you have input, process, and output. When you manage something, you need output. What is your output? On the slide here, you see deliverable. Deliverable is your output. Okay. Output is a result of your projects. It can be a physical product. It can be a services. Right. So output or deliverables, they are measurable, tangible output that can touch in the form of all these things. So what is your output? You as a project manager, you have to know how to characterize your output or deliverables. You have hardware deliverables, you have software deliverables, you have interim deliverables. So when you write your report for your project, you need to elaborate what hardware you use, what software you use, what interim deliverables you use. Okay. So hardware, you know equipment that you can see, touch. Software is documentation, your technologies, how you know how to do that. Talk to the hardware. Right. Interim is like, for example, some process, project report, and also on. Interim can be hardware, can be software. Okay. Interim means in the process you have a lot of report, QA report, QC report, and so on. Okay. So deliverables, you have three types. We have three types: hardware, software, and interim. So we have seen this diagram. Okay, it's a very old diagram. I highlight there, used at least for the past 30, 40 years. With the latest, if you go and take the project management certification for project manager, they've changed this diagram into this one you read. They have add all this point for the project success rather than the time, cost, and performance. So the modern definition for project success, you include all these things. So time still there, cost still there, specification of performance still there. You will add in. Just now the old one is relationship. So the modern one, you have to get acceptance from the customers because they are the one who pay for the projects, right? They are the one who buy the services from you. Then you have to have a minimum scope changes. So once you start the projects, we try to avoid changes in the projects. You can have a minor but not major. Okay. So for example, you are the Adidas or sports shoes designer, project designer. Once you start the projects, we try not to change the material or the general size of the shoes. We fix so that then you can do a little bit of modification on the shoes, for example. Then avoid disturbing the main workflow of the organization. For example, main workflow here. For example, you are the Adidas or sports shoes designers project chief. You don't want to add a very special process. For example, you don't want to use a special painting or special curing process just for that model. You don't want that, because once you have that, you use up all the space in the factory floor, and also you disturb the workers process. Okay. If you want, you decide before you start. Again, in first lecture, we have gone through the 5 process already. Initialization, then planning. During planning stage, you need to fix the scope. You need to fix how you do the workflow. So initialization, planning. After planning, execution already, try not to have small changes already. You execute, you do only. You monitor. Monitor the output of the things is the quality. You make changes, right, to the quality of your internal process, right? Not to the material and all. This one already in the planning stage already. Okay. Then without changing the corporate culture, this is important. Every company have their own culture, so don't because of one project go and change the whole company culture. Okay. So this one you read lah. You read. This one also you read. Okay. So this is just an elaboration. For example, a company have a standard of openness and honesty when dealing with customers. Then you should adopt this culture in all the projects in the company. Okay. Because if your company culture is honesty, sometimes you have to say no, you have to reject the project because limited resources, you don't able to do it, you don't have the technology, you have to say no. You don't go and push and take the project and then come in and then only you talk to the investor, say, we need this, we already accepted, we already signed contract, we need to buy these things. No. You have to do all the adjustment in the planning stage before you start the projects. Okay. This one you read is all the theories you read now. Okay. Another word in project management is called trade-off. Trade-off means you need to sacrifice something in the projects. Okay. So trade-off, for example, additional budget or time frame. Let's say your customers say, give me in 1 week. You need to do some trade-off. You have to say no. This process we cannot do in 1 week. So through this module, later you learn some calculations, some hypotheses, some statistical methods to come up with numbers saying that, okay, this can go, this one cannot go. How many percent can success? How many percent you will fail? Okay. We're still at chapter 1. It's the introduction things. So give you a general idea what you're going to study. Okay. Now, there is a triple constraint that you learned just now, time, cost, performance with the resources. It's called primary and secondary constraint. Primary is the one outside the triangular. Inside there is secondary constraint. Okay, the orange color is a secondary constraint. The one that you see in the middle of the slide here is a modern one. It can be changes from project to project. Time, cost, scope, this one you can change according to the scenario. So you need to read the question, and then from the question, one paragraph, you need to transfer the information into this diagram. You need to know which one is the primary, which one is the secondary. Normally it won't change. Time, cost, and specification or performance or scope is always outside. Middle one, secondary, it can be changed. Yeah. Okay. The rest you read. So if you read the statement of the question, you construct into this triangular. So you have primary, secondary constraint. So, however, it can be significant more than 3 competing constraints, with some geometry shape other than triangular might work best. So sometimes you have more than this 1, 2, 3, 4. You need to expand into another triangle, another shape also can. But usually we stick to triangular. Okay. So let's say this is the traditional, or in your companies you work in already, they already adopt this triangular constraint kind of project management. Then you are the new employed project manager. You want to change the environment, right? Maybe you graduate from Silicon Valley, or you have worked for Silicon Valley for last 5 years. You have seen the latest technology there, right? Or you work in China in a EV technologies factory for the last 5 years. You know the development. You come back to the Malaysia. You work in a Proton, for example. You want to make changes. So the rest you read. So it can change from one on the left to the one on the right. The time can change to value, the cost can change to quality, The scope can change to image and reputation. What I mean by primary and secondary? Primary one means you don't compromise. Every time you come to a project or look at time, you look at cost, you look at the scope, can do or cannot do. But if the environment change, the top management suddenly change mind. They say, cost is not a problem. We want to increase our quality. For example, Apple. This is for the new startup company. This one, for example, Apple, Mercedes, Audi, all these premium brand. Cost is not their factor. Ferrari is not their factor. They will go for quality. Their primary constraint will be quality. And create value. This one value is not only monetary value, but it can be social value. For example, if you bought a Mercedes, it means something. For example, or a pen, Mont Blanc pen, for example, it means something, right? Images and reputation. For example, this one is most probably example one is those branded or premium products, Apples, all these things. So they are, for example, Disneyland. Disneyland, they are more in reputation. All right. Then the rest, scope, risk, cost, this one is secondary. Means they still consider, but they give priority to the one that outside. So if you want to close this kind of company projects, you need to study what is their primary constraint, what is secondary constraint. It's how you sell your projects. You want to bid for a project, you need to study what is the customer's triangular. Or what do they look at? Like for example, you go into the Apple company, you go for the Apple. Of course, the cost is important. But if you are the vendor of an Apple company's products, for example, you are the supplier for their, you help them to design their products. If you always talk about cost, you most highly chance you won't get the projects. You try to sell your project in quality, value, and reputation. Of course, cost come into negotiation later. So it can be changed. There's no one set. You use this one for the whole life. No. It depends from one company to another company. Important point is you know that there is a primary constraint and secondary constraint. That is more important. Okay. So in your projects, you have to put which one is your primary constraint, secondary constraint. So don't say you don't know how to write your report. So from time to time, I will lead you what you need to write in your report. Okay. Okay, the rest you read. Okay, this one, Disneyland. They have 6 constraints. Disneyland, when they design, the project manager design and build, when they build the theme park, they come up with 6 constraints: time, cost, scope, safety, aesthetic, and quality. All right. So for Disney, the last 3 constraints, safety, aesthetic value means good, looks good, and quality. If you walk into Disney, you will see every cartoon or any costume is smiling. Right? So this is an aesthetic value, or they looks happy, they looks premium. Right? The thing looks very expensive, something like that. Right? So they lock these 3 constraints in their design. So there's a trade-off process. They will not make changes when during the trade-off. They won't sacrifice safety, they won't sacrifice aesthetic, they won't sacrifice value. Okay. So the rest, if it's not in the primary, in the secondary, then it's inside the trade-off factor. Okay. The rest you read. all these questions you have to consider. So success of project management, it depends on where is your position as a project manager. It can affect your salary, can affect who you report to. Okay. So you have president, vice president, director, division, department, section, label. This is typical position of a project manager. You're parked under division here, and then you manage the project. You talk to functional unit. Okay, you talk to functional unit. Now you don't talk to director. You don't talk to division. You manage people below you. You don't manage people above you. Okay. Then as we go through, you will see there's a project driven, non-project driven. This one later. Okay, this one come later. Later we learn about organization chart. There will be a non-project driven, there will be project driven. At the moment, you can ignore this orange color word here first. But important, you know where your position as a project manager. Where is your position? It's important. Okay, the rest you read. Okay, we have two category. One is micro. Micro means you look at a very small angle. Micro level means you look at a big organization dimension. So in a macro level, organization can become project and non-project driven. So project driven, okay, the keyword here, project driven example, when you answer question, you have to give example. So example of project driven is construction and aerospace engineering projects. So keyword here is that they have a separate cost center that show profit and loss statement. Okay, so for project driven organization, for example, as CEO, come down, you have project manager A, project manager B, project manager C. For example, Tesla Model 1, Tesla Model 2, Tesla Model 3, project A, project B, project C. Each one will have their own sets of P&L statement, project and loss statement. This is fall under project driven organization. Okay. So the total profit will be summarized of profit of all projects. So project driven, in the project driven organization, you will focus on the project. Means anything happen, the first question come, who in charge of this project, or who should we talk to about this project? For example, something wrong. For example, if there's a crack or customer complaint, or crack in the house, or there's a tiles come out, blow pipe, the pipe is broken. The first question come into the management, you will ask, who in charge of this? Which project is this? Which taman it is? Which project it is? You will ask this question, right? Okay. Now project driven, because each project, I do not use the word department here. I use project. Each project have their own P&L. There will be a competition between project manager A, project manager B, project manager C. You need to think yourself inside. As if you are A, you are B, you are C. If your colleagues manage to get more P&L for this year, something will happen to next year in your position. There was some risk to your position. You need to think in that direction. Okay, this is called risk management. Okay, for non-project driven, usually they are manufacturing setup. Manufacturing setup. So profit and loss are measured vertically or functional lines. The keyword here is no longer projects, but it go to the department. Which department make more money? And then which department make losses? Those department make losses, next year you might not in your you might lose the job already. Okay. So again, keyword is functional line. I do not use the word department. Don't use the word department in your answer. You can use line unit or functional unit. Okay. Vertical. Okay. There's if you see the word vertical and horizontal, basically it just means reporting system. So this is functional unit. Okay. If you see functional unit, finance, R&D, engineering. This, when you see this one, it is a non-project driven organization already. If you see this kind of chart, how you know it's a project organization chart? What do you need to change the keyword in the organization chart? What do you need to change? What do you think? This is finance, R&D, engineering. Project manager is here. This is a non-project driven organization. What happened to the project driven organization? Anyone? How you know this is a project driven? How you know? How you know? What should be written here? Huh? Project manager. What? It's not project manager, it's a main thing. You will see project A, project manager lah. Project manager, project B. The keyword is project here. Project C. Inside here, you will see staff A will be in project A. Staff A will be in project C also. Engineer A will be, you'll see this guy go to project A. Engineer A can also go to the project C meeting. You will see in the project meeting, you will see a similar face in the meetings. Why? Project organization or project based or project driven, they are based on projects. Non-projects, they based on what? Functional unit. Engineering team, finance, R&D, this is functional unit. Yeah. It's an area of very easy to score mark. Either you know or you don't know. Yeah. This one normally 10 out of 25 for one question. It just asks you to draft a pictorial diagram to differentiate project and non-project based driven organization. You don't know how to draw, get 0. You chinchai draw also no marks on. In my module, in this module, you chinchai draw no marks on. Either you hit the point or you do not hit the point. Go, no go standard in this module. Either you know or you don't know. Either the keyword is there or keyword not there. Okay. What is the way you question, you only understand 50%. Correct and non-correct. What is the main difference between project and non-project? Project, you manage by projects. Means the equipment can share, people you can share. You will see same face colleagues in different project meeting. Let's say, now we are having a meeting for project A. You will see Kelvin is there. Then, okay, project A meeting done. Then let's talk about project C. You will still see Kelvin in the meeting. But now Kelvin is focused on project C. This is project management. Functional or non-projects, you focus on functional. Means R&D department, they only R&D department. You won't see finance people there. You won't see Kelvin there. Let's say Kelvin is the engineering guy. You won't see Kelvin in the finance meeting. Let's say. Okay. Again, you should able to differentiate between these two. You write R&D here, you write R&D here, you write project here, means wrong. It means you don't know differentiate project and non-project. There's no finance here. You can see. Do you see department names? No department name here. No specific specialized department here. You identified through project staff A, project staff A, project staff A. Means this is a project A. So B also same. Only B, orange color, B. Focus on projects. Okay. Just now I tried to explain to you what is vertical. There are two ways of communication in organization chart. One is vertical, one is horizontal. This is horizontal. Okay, this is horizontal. This is vertical. Okay. So when you see the word vertical communication, horizontal, vertical, it means you go to the organization chart and then you check how it goes. One goes straight up or one goes straight horizontal. Priorities will be, the differences here will be, resources will go to the revenue profiting functional line. In a non-project driven organization, resources will go to the one that generate income or revenue. Okay, for example, sales and marketing, they're the one who bring in all the sales, so a lot of money will go there. They will maybe they will have the highest staff there. For example, KFC. You will see lots of resources go to the staffing, for example. Okay. You see this one? This one non-driven. So you see functional manager here, functional manager, staff project plus project staff plus project staff, but they are under one function, one unit. Yeah. So there are two charts here. One is a project driven, one is a non-project driven. Go and study these two charts. Okay. Okay, this one you read. For non-driven, they are more difficult because project may be few or far between. So the projects maybe you have a few projects, then you use non-project driven organization. What does it mean? For example, Top Glove. You know Top Glove? They only do glove, right? Also got a few more latex related. But the product is so fixed that you only produce that few products. So they are non-project driven. Okay. Project driven organization. Yeah, for example, construction, aerospace, all this. Okay. This one, in the non-project driven, because they are managed by functional units, they might be refused to delegate authority. Executive do not have sufficient time to manage project themselves, and there is a problem here. They might be refused to delegate authority. Means that the head here, let's say engineering department, he don't want to borrow his staff to a certain project, also can one in a non-projects organization. Okay. Okay. So project tends to delay because of approval. This is normally happen in a non-project driven organization because you need to go through one department to get approval. The rest you read. Okay. Now, keyword here, non-project driven organization may also have a steady stream of projects designed to enhance manufacturing operation. Right? The rest you read. So how they improve the weakness of non-projects, they will use all these things. They will use statistic dimensional concept. They will use statistical analysis. For example, in Top Glove, they use a lot of data to analyze. Introduce process changes. There's a standard process flow. If it's not, quality is not good, they change the process. And then once it works, they stick to that process. Okay. Introduction of process changes concept and so on. So what happens if you're not able to identify as a specific project, then all these things will happen. For responsibility, communication, implementation, cost, and performance. Basically, for this module, you elaborate the answer, you touch about time, you touch about cost, you touch about performance. In almost all the questions in the test. You elaborate time, cost, and performance. So if the question asks you, if the changes cannot be identified for a specific project, what is the expected outcome or challenges in the factory or challenges in the organization? I will give you a statement, I will give you a scenario, something like that. Then suddenly this keyword come out. If changes cannot be identified as specific projects, what can it be results to the organization? These are the answer we expected. You elaborate. Elaborate in the answer. Don't give me dot, this one, dot. Don't write dot poor responsibility, poor communication. I'll put question mark. What do you mean? You need to explain at least one line or two lines. Okay. Okay, the rest you read. Okay, so this one will be, I think, the last slides already. Okay, this will be the last slides. So in project management, it's called tip of the iceberg syndrome. It can happen in all type organization, but it's most commonly in non-project driven organization. It can be happen in project driven organization. What does it mean? You will see lack of authority for project manager on the surface, but below there is actually a loss of project management work that need to done by the project manager. Okay. So also this one, it tell you the iceberg syndrome for metrics implementation. So this one is a bit early for you. You will see metrics organization later in either chapter 3 or chapter 2. Then you link this tip of the iceberg syndrome in the matrix. Okay, a quick quiz for chapter 1. Traditional competing constraint for a project is which one? What is your guess? C, yeah? Okay. Okay, number 2, I give you answer already. Which of the following is not part of the definition of projects? Repetitive activity is not. All right. So again, constraint, resources, objective. So there is a very lengthy definition of a project just now, or project management. Which of the following usually not part of the criteria for project success? C, yeah. Okay. 75 consider fail. But if the customer think, okay lah, I can accept 75, then consider success. But if this statement alone, it consider fail. Okay. Again, in this test, you don't have objective question. This is just a review. It's just a review. Which of the following generally not a benefit achieving from using project management? Not a benefit. What do you think? Not a benefit, we use project management. A, why? Why A? Huh? Why? Why A? Why A? Because we mentioned what? Successful product management, we try to avoid what? Changes. Try to avoid changes to the scope or time or specification or performance. Answer is A. Once you start project, you don't want to change the end date already. You don't want to touch the completion times. Why? This one will affect the money come in one. Means the customer write the check. They only bill you when they sign off your projects. You keep dragging. Every month you have to pay salary. Then at the end you bankrupt. Yourself bankrupt first. This happened in a lots of construction projects. They play flexibility in the project end time, then they burn themselves. Okay. The person responsible for assigning the resources for a project is most often but who responsible for assigning resources to a project? Who do you think? HR? Sponsor? Line manager means functional manager, functional unit manager, or project manager? Project manager. The answer is line manager. Your job as a project manager is what? You communicate. You only the keyword here is communicate. Project manager, you think of the mouth. Only communicate. You don't have the power to say, I want this person. Who decide that person? Manager. You don't go over their authority. If you are the project manager, you go and ask, you go into the engineering chief, you say, I want to use Kelvin. Maybe first project, he cooperate with you. Second project, he will give a lot of reason already. No lah, this one cannot do lah. Kelvin not free lah, cannot lah. Don't go and don't overstep people. When you are project manager, don't overstep people. Your job as a project manager is to communicate. The job of assigning resources is functional manager. Finance people allocate finance, money. HR allocate HR people, policy, and all this. Right? Conflict between project and line manager most often resolve. Resolve means solved by what? By who? By project sponsor. Project sponsor here means investor. It can be top management. Okay. Sponsor here, it can be means top management. It can be top management. So again, project manager, your position. Okay. The potential means this job. You're going to become part of the top management if you are being appointed as a project manager. Because they want to test, I want to see whether you are good in managing with people. Because your job is to talk to people. Talk to project manager. It's an opportunity, one time in your lifetime. If you are a project manager, you are going to promote as a top management executive soon. If you're able to manage that project well, you're going to be considered as a candidate for the top management or executive level, high executive level, right? If you're not able to handle project well, you'll be demoted to staff below. Only one chance. Either you make it or you don't make it. Okay. Now, number 7, differentiate which project driven or non-project driven. Project does only project if the project performed by your companies are for customers external to your companies and profit criteria exists on the projects, then your organization most likely what? Your P&L is on projects. Profit and loss is on projects. So you are project driven. Okay. Okay, I think we stop for a while. We continue 11:15, 11:15. Okay, 10 minutes breaks.